Hi everyone, welcome. This is another in the 10-minute tip series of recorded programs for credit and collection pros. This one is titled 25 Ways to Limit Credit Risk. My name is Michael Dennis. Let's go ahead and jump in. Number 1, be cautious when it comes to considering a request from a bankrupt customer for you to extend open account terms. Often these requests come with some vague assurance that you are guaranteed payment. And I would ask you to consider this rhetorical question. If you're guaranteed payment, then who is the guarantor? Because there is no guarantee of payment if you sell on open account terms to a customer in bankruptcy. Credit holds are an important tool in the toolbox that credit pros need to use from time to time as leverage to convince customers to pay past due balances sooner instead of later. It shouldn't be the first tool we use, but it should always be one of the tools that we have when it comes to addressing and resolving delinquent accounts. Please make sure that your collectors have a plan for dealing with, let's just say, the top 10 excuses that they hear over and over again from customers about why they have not paid the past due balance. Make sure that you limit the authority within the credit department about who specifically has the authority to override credit holds. For example, I'm a consultant, and in some companies that I visit, I learn that all collectors can override credit holds, even when the credit holds were put in place by the credit manager. That doesn't always make sense to me, so again, limit authority to release holds. You can limit credit risk by recognizing that sometimes it's appropriate to request financial information from customers and applicants as a way of evaluating the risk of doing business with them. And other times, it may be the case that you need to require rather than request this type of information to make a fully informed decision about a particular customer's creditworthiness, their credit limit, or the payment terms that you're willing to offer to them. Remember to assign credit limits to all of your customers, including customers that are purchasing on COD terms, cash on delivery. Why cash on delivery in particular? Because in a very real sense, the customer has open account terms on COD terms from the time that they hand the check to your driver or hand the check to will call and the time that check clears their bank. Whether that takes 2 days or 4 days or 6 days, for that short period of time, they have your products and you have in exchange a piece of paper, which is a promise to pay. Well, a promise to pay sounds a lot to me like open account terms. You can limit the risk of bad debts by recognizing that every sale carries with it some degree of risk of bad debt losses or serious payment delinquencies. It doesn't really matter how apparently creditworthy a customer is. That reality exists every single time we ship products to a customer on open account terms. There's always the possibility of default. There's always the possibility of serious payment delays. Another way to limit risk is to make sure that when you're in contact with the customer, particularly if you're trying to collect a past due balance, that you're speaking to a decision maker rather than an intermediary. And the difference, of course, is that a decision maker is someone who can make and keep whatever commitment that they make in response to the negotiation you have with them over the status of their account. And speaking of being a collector, if you are meeting with a customer or speaking with the customer, be understanding and be empathetic, but be specific and firm about what your expectations are with regard to the status of their account and their past due balance. You will be in a better position to limit risk if, when you make a threat to hold orders, you keep that threat to hold orders. Otherwise, in a very real sense, you become the boy that cried wolf. If your goal is to limit bad debt write-offs, then rather than simply writing off an account that you can't collect a bad debt, you should consider instead placing that account with a third-party collection agency. Please remember that there is no way to eliminate bad debt losses without selling to customers on a cash in advance basis. And that's completely impractical because you would lose sales and you would lose profits if you chose to sell to everyone on cash in advance. We can't eliminate credit risk. We have to manage it. That's our mandate. That's our goal. That's what companies expect of their credit department. And I would add, that's why we have bad debt reserves. That's why we have goals that don't say things like the DSO should match the payment terms. If your payment terms are net 30 days, the DSO should be 30 days. You should have no delinquencies. These are never requirements for the credit department because it's never the case that the mandate is to eliminate bad debt losses. It's to manage and control those losses and manage and control at the same time slow payments and delinquent accounts. So fundamentally, the harder we try and the more we do to eliminate credit risk, the more expensive the process becomes, the more time-consuming the process becomes, the less customer-centric we appear to be to customers and, of course, to our management as well as to our sales team. And, of course, the fewer sales we make, because our job is not to eliminate risk, it's to manage it. We can better manage risk by regularly requesting input from senior management, from our boss, the CFO, the controller, VP Finance, whoever it is, about how much credit risk they expect us to take. In addition, we can reduce or better manage risk by measuring credit department performance regularly and on an ongoing basis. In that regard, we need to give members of the credit team whatever tools or resources they need so that they can monitor and manage their own performance against goals, standards, metrics, and KPIs. We can better manage credit risk by creating appropriate goals relating to risk management for every member of the credit department team. And of course, we can reduce risk, we can control risk by requesting collateral or other credit enhancements from customers as well as from credit applicants. We can also reduce risk by more diligently and carefully following up to clear and collect past due balances. Why? Because fundamentally, the older a past due balance becomes, the less likely it is to be collected, and the more likely it is that we will have to write off that past due balance. And the same idea applies to deductions. The older a deduction becomes, the more difficult it is to convince customers to take it seriously and to do the research on their end necessary to confirm your position that the deduction was taken in error, meaning the older a deduction becomes, the more likely you'll either have to credit it off or write it off, and therefore we have to diligently follow up on the status of deductions, including small dollar nuisance deductions. I'm not promoting any particular software company, but I would encourage you to consider or evaluate or look at the idea of purchasing credit decision support software as a way to simplify the decision-making process, accelerate it, and improve the accuracy of the decisions that you make with regard to extending credit and setting customer credit limits. And speaking of setting customer credit limits, another way to reduce or manage credit risk more effectively would be to limit credit granting authority within the credit department relating to who has the authority to set or increase credit limits and who has the authority to approve extended payment requests from customers. I really do want to thank you for your time and attention. I hope you found this program to be interesting or helpful. If you're interested in listening to the entire on-demand program, please contact my sponsor, the Wisconsin Credit Association, BCMA, at www.wcacredit.org. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.